Hello, everyone! Welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 352. A unique show among podcasts where some random internet dude tells you his opinions on things. Yep, only one podcast that does that, and it's mine. All mine. So, I was, browsing around the internets, and I saw a few people talking about their first time. Their first experience. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. So, what was my first anime? I've talked about this a little bit before, but it's been a while, so we can talk about it again. It's interesting because I have several different answers. It kind of depends. Andrew, what was your first anime? It really depends on exactly what you mean. Because technically, probably one of my very first anime was something like Voltron, which is an American cartoon, but it's an adaptation of a Japanese cartoon. So all the footage I'm watching, at least I don't think there was any original animation done to the American Voltron show. I think it was all the Go Lion, whatever it's called. But something like that probably would have been the first Japanese cartoon I saw, if that's what you're going for by anime. The first movie I saw, completely by accident, was I think it's the second Urusei Yatsura movie, Beautiful Dreamer, which Voltron and Mazinger were my first, says Chicago. Haven't. Again, YouTube, really hard to read comments with that goddamn emoji thing blocking. Oh, so irritating. I wonder actually if does it, hang on a second. What if I can move it a little bit, but just based on how I have it sized to the screen. That's unfortunate. Well, whatever. Haven't really watched any others unless you count Pokemon. I'd say Pokemon counts. But I didn't. It was dubbed, of course, so I had no idea what the hell it was. But it was just a bunch of kids in a high school running around with weird stuff happening. I think I missed like the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, but I watched the whole thing. I thought it was really neat, and I had no idea what that was until 15 years later or something like that, when I was I actually knew what anime was at that point. I was in my 20s, and I went to one of my local comic shops was having an anime day, and I had nothing better to do, so I spent the day down there and got to see a bunch of different things. It's where I first, and this would have been very early 2000s, so probably like literally 2000 or 2001 or something like that. So I watched. So it was the first place I saw Hunter x Hunter and Love Hina and a bunch of things, including Urusei Yatsura, and I went, I've seen these characters before. And I couldn't really place them until I went home and did some research. And I went, that's that movie I saw way the hell back in the 90s on Toonami or something like that. And so it's hard to... Yeah, you can see it a little bit back here. That's all... This whole shelf here is Urusei Yatsura. I have the entire series. You know what? They actually redid it. I should check out the new one, see if it's any good. I'm not sure if it's new adventures or if they've just reanimated it. Really not sure. Yu Yu Hakusho is down there too. Might be You're Under Arrest, but Yu Yu Hakusho is down there somewhere. And on the bottom shelf, of course, is all of the Zatoichi movies, except one which I don't think is on DVD, at least not in this region. It's like the 12th or 13th film in the Zatoichi movies. It's just, there's one of them, literally just one of them, that never hit disc in this region. It's weird. I have since seen it. I think it was on the Criterion channel, so I did eventually get to see the movie, but yeah. Let's see. Chaos says DBZ was my first. Didn't start watching till college. I think I actually saw Dragon Ball before I saw Dragon Ball Z. Don't really care for either. Dragon Ball Z I find kind of insufferable, actually. A friend of mine I used to work with, he's a big DBZ fan, and I much prefer Yu Yu Hakusho, so we'd give each other crap on that all the time. But I kind of consider my first anime to be the first anime that I watched on purpose, knowing that it was anime. So I don't know when, this may have been like late 90s, because I went to the video store and I rented 2 anime movies that I'd seen sitting there for a long time, and I think these movies are mid-90s, so it's probably late 90s or something like that. My memory is that I had the house to myself. I don't know where my mom and my sister were. I honestly don't remember. I know I was alone. I don't know why. It's possible that mom was back in Kentucky and my sister was in college, and I was just house sitting or something. So I rented 2 films from Blockbuster, or probably not Blockbuster, probably the video store we had on the corner, which was the Video Store with the Cat, which was a privately owned video rental business. It had a name, but my sister and I never remembered what the name was. It was just the Video Rental Store with the Cat, because they had a cat that wandered around the store, which made it the best video rental store. Unfortunately, they were bought out by some very small chain, something like Primetime Video or something. Then it was a Hollywood Video, I think. Not sure what it was when I rented, but I rented. Now, this was back in the days when there was, get this. You'd go to the video store, and there'd be sections, right? You would have the new releases section, which would usually be like the entire perimeter of the store. Then you'd have the horror section, and the thrillers, and the the room in the back with the beads where all the adult stuff is. Actually, I don't think any of the video stores I browsed had that, but I know that some of them have it somewhere. Right? And the animation section, the comedy section. At this point in time, video stores had the anime shelf. It was a shelf, because they only had like 10 titles. They had like Wicked City, Demon City Shinjuku, and a handful of others, but the 2 I rented were Ghost in the Shell and Ninja Scroll. Jared says that was Yu-Gi-Oh for me. I've only ever heard people make fun of Yu-Gi-Oh. Let me phrase that differently. I have only ever seen like redubbed parodies of Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, that kind of a comedy thing. I've never actually seen any of Yu-Gi-Oh, so I have no idea. I think the character design is kind of obnoxious, but honestly, no idea if the show is good. But I'm at least somewhat familiar with the basic premise of it. Let's see. Chicago says the only reason. Hello, Lindy. Chicago says the only reason I watched Mazinger is because it was dubbed in Spanish on some Spanish radio station, so my mom put it on so my brothers and I could watch it. Oh, there you go. So, I was home alone, and I decided to watch Ghost in the Shell, because that was probably one of the biggest titles. I mean, even people who had no idea what the hell anime was had heard of Ghost in the Shell. So I watched Ghost in the Shell, and so I'd consider that really my first anime. And I didn't really care for it. I was okay. A lot of neats. It's visually very, very cool. There's a lot of really neat stuff in it. There's robots with guns that go shooty shooty. But overall, I was like, it's all right, it's fine. And then I watched Ninja Scroll. And that was amazing. I love Ninja Scroll. I have not seen Ninja Scroll in probably close to 20 years. I should probably rewatch it. See if it holds up. Because, man, especially when you're young, that Ninja Scroll is amazing. No idea if it holds up as an adult, but my sister and I do a podcast called Movie Mandates. Premise of it is, according to a monthly theme, she and I mandate we watch a certain movie in accordance with said monthly theme. We've been doing that for a year and change now. One of our upcoming, I think March or something like that, the theme is I forget what it's something like As Good As I Remember, something like that. And there were a bunch of anime movies like Ninja Scroll that I'd actually like to go back and rewatch because I haven't seen them in a long time, and I don't know if they hold up. Like, would I be as big a fan of Project A-ko if I watched it again today? Or would Project Eden be my favorite Dirty Pair movie? Unfortunately, none of these are available on like in Redbox or any for rent or for on any of the streaming services. My sister would like literally have to track down and buy a DVD, or I'd have to mail them to her. So sadly, we're not going to we're not gonna watch Dirty Pair Project Eden or anything for that podcast episode. But maybe I'll give a few of my old favorites a rewatch and see how they hold up. I typoed in my show notes here. Not that that matters. No one sees my show notes, but there we go. All fixed. I saw Ghost in the Shell 2. Remember? I forget what the subtitle is, but gorgeous film. Boring as hell. Yeah, the first Ghost in the Shell I think is okay. This Ghost in the Shell 2 I think is genuinely a bad movie. Absolutely gorgeous film. But good gravy is that sucker boring. I did not like Ghost in the Shell 2 at all. I haven't seen much of any of the animated... Well, I haven't seen the live-action movie, and I haven't seen much... I think I saw a little, like, one episode of... What was it called? Standalone Complex or something like that. There's been, like, at least 5 of the damn series at this point, and I haven't watched any of them, so I don't know. I don't know what it's doing anymore. Just rip the DVD. There you go. Then just Dropbox it to her or something. Yeah. Well, my sister and I, when we do the movie mandate shows, if a movie that we want to do for the show is not on a streaming service that we happen to subscribe to, we rent the film. So it's not that big a deal. So far, it's rare. It rarely comes up there that there's a movie that we want to do that's just not easily available anywhere. So yeah, it's a nice time to be alive. All right, so yay anime. So Paramount, Universal. I think it's Universal. Universal on their Tubes of You hosted the first 10 minutes or thereabouts of Five Nights at Freddy's. So I watched it because for some reason, like, the only video game movie that I just have literally zero interest in seeing is the Sonic movies. Like, I'm not even a huge Five Nights at Freddy's fan. But I'm like, oh, Five Nights at Freddy's movie. 8 or 9 years later? It seems a little late for that, but yeah, you know, whatever. Kind of like when they did the Angry Birds movie, like a decade after that was a thing. It's like, okay. No, I've only ever played the first Five Nights at Freddy's. I think it's a fun concept. I thought it was an interesting idea for a game. I don't think it lasts very long. I mean, the game, it's not much to it. After about 40 minutes, you're like, okay, I got it. That's pretty neat. I think it's got a strong aesthetic. I think it's got a strong sense of atmosphere. So I think it could be translated into a film pretty well. I adore the character design. I think the titular creatures, you know, the Freddy and that purple bunny thing and the chicken with the bib and Foxy, Bonnie and Chica, I think. Strong character design, I feel. So, unfortunately, it's not at the drive-in right now. I actually was at the drive-in this week, and I'll talk about the movies I saw. And Five Nights at Freddy's was playing. It was double featuring with, I think, the second sequel to the Trolls movie, which I had no interest in seeing. So I watched The Marvels, and it was double featuring with Wish. So I'll talk about those in a bit. But, so I watched the opening 10 minutes of Five Nights at Freddy's, and I was pretty impressed. So the first 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes is a cold open with a security guard. He's barricaded in his security office. There's something trying to break down the door. So he crawls through a vent, and then sounds like Foxy gets him. And then he gets strapped to a chair, and in the game, the lore is... Or actually, I think the lore goes way past the first game. It goes into, you know, some robotics dude who has been sucking soul juice out of children to animate animatronics or something. I don't know. But in the original game, the idea was, I don't know, there was something supernatural going on, I think. But mainly it was just these show puppets wander around. They wander around by themselves, and they've got some security protocol that if they see you, they think you're a metal endoskeleton that's not in its suit. And so they'll grab you and try to forcibly stuff you in a suit. But all the suits have, you know, wires and crossbeams and stuff, so that would kill you. So, you know, don't let them grab you. That's horrific and funny. So it's a great idea. But apparently the later games are like, no, there were child murders and the ghosts of the children haunt the animatronics. And it's like, what? Okay. But the animatronics seem to be driven by their own... Are you saying that the children are trying to kill you? Or are they just kind of along for the ride, subject to the whims of the animatronics programming? And if that's the case, then what's the point of the souls? I don't know. Whatever. I don't care. So anyway, the cold open, it's atmospheric, it's tense, it's spooky in a fun way. Where I was going is the animatronics don't seem to be trying to stuff this dude into an animatronic suit. They strap him to a chair and, like, forcefully fit a Freddy Fazbear mask on him, but the Freddy Fazbear mask has, like, whirling blades on the inside for some reason, which makes no sense. Maybe if you watch more than 10 minutes of the movie. But, you know, it captures that primal fear of being in the dentist, you know? Being stuck in a chair with someone coming at your face with sharp implements, and you just kind of keep doing this. You know? So, it's effective. It's fine. And then it moves into the opening title sequence, and I love me a good title sequence, which is presented in as footage on an arcade cabinet. So we're watching ostensibly, an arcade, like the attract mode of an arcade machine, which is clearly telling a story of some dude in a mascot suit kidnapping children for some reason. And it's fun. It's horrifying, but in kind of a funny way, because there's like this group of 5 children, and there's this guy in a bunny mascot or something, and he keeps wandering, picking them off one by one, sometimes with balloons, and it's horrifying, but it's also really funny. Music's pretty good too. I like the theme. I don't like the orchestration. It's very. It feels like they were trying to fuse 80s era John Carpenter synth with like 90s era Danny Elfman, but both chord progression and spooky choral ahs. Honestly, I think they would have been better served just going straight piano. But that might just be me. I like the theme, though. It's a nice theme. It just felt a little... I didn't like the synth. And I felt the choir ahs came in too early. To me, it felt like something that needed to just keep it simple, just do regular piano and build. But, they don't pay me to score films, so what do I know? Then the last 4 minutes or so is we're introduced to our protagonist, who is... The film does just a really nice job of, hitting the gas and telling us who this dude is in a couple of minutes so we can get to the haunted restaurant, which happens probably on minute 11. But so we have our hero Larry, who is has a you can tell that he's having a hard time because he's trying to take care of his sister and hold down a job. He's got holes in his socks, visual language there. He's a security guard at a mall, and he's apparently looks like one of those kidnapped kids might be one of his other siblings, right? Because he seems to have, he sees this kid standing alone, and then some guy grabs him and drags him off, and he sprints after this dude, and you're thinking, oh, okay, he's got a bad experience with child kidnappers, and he's going to tackle this guy, and he's going to get fired. Yes, but he doesn't just tackle this guy. He full body tackles this guy into the fountain and then just starts beating the shit out of him. I'm talking like 4 or 5 full haymakers right to the face. I'm amazed he didn't kill the guy. And so he ends up, but it's so it communicates who this person is and what their deal is, but it's also really funny. So it does a nice job of kind of setting a tonal expectation by heightening the reality of the world to a level where, yeah, haunted animatronics, sure, I accept that, right? Because the fact that this guy is now sitting in a job counselor's office and not prison, because, he's beating the hell out of this guy, tells us that this is not the real world. So his job coach, Matthew Lillard, hi Matthew, talks to him, and he's like, dude, I don't know, your options seem kind of slim, man. You can't hold down a job, and then he goes, so he grabs the report off his desk, and he opens it up. It's Mr. What was it, Mike Schmidt or something like that? He's like, Mike Schmidt? And Lillard is playing for the back seats here. This is not subtle at all, which is not a criticism. This is Five Nights at Freddy's. the animatronic jump scare video game movie subtlety is probably not what anyone expects going into this. But it's very clear that he knows who this is for some reason. Which means he's probably the guy who abducted his brother. So is Matthew Lillard the guy in the costume who's kidnapping kids and I don't know, stuffing them into animatronics and to extract their soul juice? I have no idea. But anyway, I was like, wow, that is a strong opening to the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. So yeah, color me impressed. I look forward to watching the rest of it whenever it's on Netflix or some streaming service that I actually subscribe to. So I mean, will it be as good as Mortal Kombat? Not that one, the one from 94, 95. That one's good. I actually saw the newer one that came out a couple of years ago. It was not good, and that makes me sad. Oh well. So that's enough FNAFing about. So it's December now, so I've been trying to get into the holiday spirit. Actually, I have not. It just, I was browsing Disney Plus and I saw a movie called The Naughty Nine, and I'd never heard of it before. But I read the little one-sentence description, and it says a group of kids on Santa's naughty list plan a heist of Santa's workshop at the North Pole. I'm like, oh my god, that's an amazing premise. Kids who end up on the naughty list. But so it's Ocean's 11, except kids on a naughty list, and instead of a Las Vegas casino, they're stealing toys from Santa's workshop because they feel they got gypped. That's an amazing idea for a movie. But I'll talk about that in a minute. First, I want to talk about what I just finished watching before I started the podcast, which was Candy Cane Lane. I'm not sure why I watched this movie. Eddie Murphy's in it, and I like Eddie Murphy. I just don't like most of his movies. At least most of what he's done in the last 25 years. I mean, he's done some great stuff. Like Bowfinger was pretty great, I think. It was a really funny movie. What's the what did he the Rudy Ray Moore movie? I forget. Dolomite. That was excellent. But most of his stuff is just, I mean, it feels like he just makes crummy movies for kids now, probably because he has kids. And I'll admit it, a lot of my favorite filmmakers and stuff when I was growing up stopped, as I got older, their movies stopped appealing to me. And and at the time, when I was 17 or whatever like that, I blamed it on them having kids, and those kids making them soft. It's like, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, their movies all went to shit once they had kids, and they made their movies all kiddie. I don't know if maybe there's some truth to that, or maybe just my tastes matured as I got older. Who knows? But, that's true, Chaos. He is making Beverly Hills Cop 4. And if it's as good as 3... Yeah. The Beverly Hills Cop 3. 1 and 2 are pretty good. 3 is... It's watchable. It's watchable. Anyway, so I watched Candy Cane. Oh, I think I saw on a website somewhere someone had mentioned that Candy Cane Lane has this weird edge to it. Like there's a character who takes a bite out of a glass ornament, and I stopped reading. I'm like, oh shit. Oh, okay. So, all right. So let's give it a watch. I want to see that. Lindy says, surprisingly, I've never watched the Beverly Hills Cop movies. Well, if you can say anything about the Beverly Hills Cop movies that everyone would agree with, it's that Harold Faltermeyer's theme song for Axel Foley is awesome. I don't know if there's anyone on Earth who would be like, oh, the Axel Foley theme? Nah, it blows. I think everyone likes the Axel Foley theme. The bum 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 do 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 do. For some reason, written in F sharp minor. Like I got the score to that, and it's written in F sharp minor. I don't know why. Is really, really hard to play anything in F sharp minor, particularly when you have big fat fingers like me. So you know what I do? You know what I do? I play it in F minor. On a keyboard that I can pitch up half a step to put it in the correct key. Because I can't play it in F sharp minor. I can't jam my fingers between those narrow little black keys. Don't work that way. Maybe some slender-fingered pianists can do it, but I can't. See, Lindy agrees with the theme song. Pretty solid soundtrack to Beverly Hills Cop. All told, also. The Heat is on. That's a classic of that soundtrack. Let's see. What was I talking about? Oh, Candy Cane Lane. Yes. So I started it this afternoon, watched about 15 minutes, and then stopped it because it was really annoying me. So I'm like, I hate not giving a movie a fair shake, and I feel like a movie... I feel like I need to watch more than 15 minutes of and this thing is 2 hours long. So I'm like, I'm gonna go shopping, and I'm gonna come back and center myself and try it again. What wasn't working was, number one, two main problems with the first 15 minutes of the film. Number one, it's not funny at all. Like, all the jokes were falling absolutely flat for me. Humor's subjective. Might work for you, but for me, I was like, wow, the humor is a fail. The second problem I had is I didn't like any of the characters, and that's kind of a sticking point, right? I don't like any of these people. They all suck. Like, I like the actors. The actors are all great and do great things and are genuinely funny comedians, but man, this movie. So we're gonna pause the movie. We're gonna go shopping. We're gonna come back all centered and stuff, and we'll watch the rest of it. Yes, I multiple personalities apparently. I will do that, and I did, and I watched to the end of the movie, and you know what? It's bad. Yeah, oh man, it's frustrating too, because it's a movie that I think has actually a lot of really cool ideas in it. So the general premise of the movie is there's an elf, Santa Workshop North Pole elf, who is disgruntled because she feels that Santa's too lenient with the chillins. She thinks the coal should flow more freely. A lot of the kids on the nice list, they really shouldn't be there. Nah, man, they should be on the naughty list. So she leaves the North Pole and essentially starts her own business, but she's doing kind of a monkey's paw kind of thing, where people will come in and buy. She's running a like Christmas decorations store. So she sells Christmas decorations, but she's doing a monkey's paw thing where there's fine print on the receipt that no one ever reads. So you end up entering into kind of a Faustian bargain that she'll like, so what's your Christmas wish? Oh, okay. Well, all right, here's your receipt. Go, just don't worry about the fine print, just sign it. And essentially you have to complete an impossible task because she's engineered it to be impossible, and she cheats. And if you fail, you turn into a figurine that she keeps on her in a little Christmas diorama thing, which thematically doesn't exactly line up with why it's stated she left the North Pole, but I don't know, we could have some Tales from the Crypt level fun here. So the movie is Eddie Murphy and his family trying to find the golden rings from the 12 Days of Christmas. 5 golden rings. They're physical objects that are being carted around the city by the 6 geese a-laying and 7 maids a-milking and the turtle doves and stuff like that. So not a terrible premise, and what I found interesting is there is a moment where the woman who I'm not familiar with the actor, but she's great, the one who plays Peppermint the Elf, she has an edge to her. Nothing that's going to terrify little children, like, Judge Doom at the end of Roger Rabbit or anything. But there's clearly a threat there, and her performance is fun. Most things in this movie doesn't work, but there are a lot of things that I think go well. There are elements of this movie that I think so there are 2 main problems I have with this movie. Well, 3. One, most of the jokes don't work, which is not to say none of them work, because I laughed out loud hard a very small handful of times, and that's not nothing. I appreciate a good laugh, because I'm a miserable sod. So if you get me laughing a couple of times, that's pretty good, but if you tell jokes for 2 hours, it's like throwing darts at a dartboard. No matter how bad you are at it, you're going to hit the board a couple of times, right? You're going to score a 20 here and there if you throw enough darts. Same thing with comedy. If the comedy's 2 hours long, you're going to have a few good jokes. And there are some really great jokes in there. Most of them suck, though. This feels like a movie that was like an assignment. Like a writer was hired to write a movie with this premise and given like 1 week to do it. And then, so they banged it out, only had time for a rough draft, for one draft. They ran it to Kinko's and like dropped it on the way, and some of the pages got out of order. I mean, for example, there's a scene in the movie where Eddie Murphy talks with his family, and they have that big speech about how you don't have to do this alone. You can rely on your family. It's what we're here for. Oh, hugs and stuff. Which is fine. It's a scene you would expect in a movie with this plot. The problem is this scene comes immediately after the entire family just worked together to accomplish a goal so Eddie Murphy wouldn't have to do it himself. Because that was literally their plan. So it feels like that scene's like literally in the wrong spot. It's so weird. It's like, oh, you know what? I don't have to do this myself. I can rely on my family. Which is exactly what we did in the previous scene. It's like, So, yeah, jokes mostly don't work. I don't like most of the characters. The actors are great. They have some pretty nice chemistry. A lot of familiar faces who are doing some fun things, but yeah, most of the just as human beings, they just kind of suck as people. Um, and not even in a, oh, we're going to redeem ourselves, we're learning the spirit of, like Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge is an asshole. Literally the point, though. Don't think the movie realizes that well, until like the absolute very end, but at that point it doesn't feel organic or earned. Um, because Eddie Murphy, he's like, child one, you should go to the school that you want to go to instead of the one that we force you to go to. Child two, I understand how passionate you are about music, and I just saw you do music good because you saved my ass with music, so I'm not going to give you guff about your, music career. It like you need that step, but it feels hollow. It's not set up properly. The other problem I have with the film is I don't think it ever quite locked down the tone it was going for. As I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons I watched this is because I saw an article somewhere which talked about where Pepper just bites into a glass ornament, and that's just like, oh man, that's just weird. And it's a great moment, and there's a couple things like that throughout the film, because there's the musical kid, he's futzing around in the musical room where suddenly he feels a presence behind him, and he takes off his headphones, and he turns around, and there's a cow standing in the middle of a high school music room. There's a cow there. Not something you expect to see in a high school music room. So it's both kind of funny because it's a cow, but it's also shot like it's a ghost. Because it's kind of creepy. It's like, what's a cow doing here? And you hear the rhythmic sound of, milk hitting the bottom of a metal pail as someone's milking, the thud, well, not thud, but I don't know what the onomatopoeia for the sound of milk hitting the side of a metal pail is. So you hear that rhythmic sound, and he's slowly walking around to the other side of the cow to see what horrible monstrosity is milking this cow. And it's shot like a horror movie. It's so great. Like you go back into Norman Bates Motel. What's the name of the movie? Psycho. Where whatever the woman's name in the movie, goes upstairs where Mother is, and she sees the woman in the chair facing away, and she slowly approaches and grabs the chair and slowly spins it around, and oh my god, what's it gonna be? Oh, it's a decrepit corpse! Ah, scary horror movies, right? It's shot like that. And when you get to the other side of the cow, it's, a milkmaid, a blonde woman with pigtails and a colorful dress, milking a cow. And she says, "Hi, got milk?" And she points the udder at the guy, starts milking, and just floods it just like fire hoses the dude with milk, which is kind of hilarious, but also, I don't want to drown in cow milk. That's kind of horrifying. So there's this kind of playful moments of playful horror in the movie. I really think that this film, if they would have targeted a tone similar to, say, Gremlins or Jumanji, it doesn't need to be gory. It doesn't even need to be PG-13. That just type of high concept. There's an actual danger here, an actual threat. I mean, no one's going to get disemboweled, but the idea that if you're turned into a little porcelain figurine, because they actually team up with a bunch of porcelain figurines that are the previous people who fell prey to Peppermint's monkey paw scam trick curse thing. And it's like, there's something, the idea that that's your life now, but you're also fragile, and if you fall off a table and shatter on the floor, they don't actually, they almost do nothing with that until the very end, at which point it genuinely doesn't matter. I just think this movie, and also, again, that moment where Peppermint bites into a glass ornament and just chews on it, that's unsettling. More of that. I think really what it feels like is a movie that they probably, hired a writer last April and said, hey, well, they had the writer's strike, so I don't know when this was, but it's like they hired a writer, said, here's the concept, write it in a week, and then they shot it in 2 weeks, and it's like now it's on Disney Plus, which is a shame, because I think, again, there's some good laughs. I think there's a lot of really cool ideas, but the script is super sloppy. Most of the jokes don't work, and a lot of the film's characters are just kind of crappy people, but crappy in a way where the film doesn't seem to notice, right? And that's a shame. I felt the movie has potential and didn't come close to meeting it, and that makes makes me sad. Oh well. But the other movie I watched, Candy Cane Lane, which I'm sorry, no, I watched Candy Cane Lane. The other one I watched was The Naughty Nine, the heist movie. Was exactly what it was aiming for. It's absolutely a success. I was entertained. It skews a bit young for me personally, but it does what it does pretty darn well. Really, my only criticism with the movie is the acting isn't particularly strong for the most part, but the main cast are all kids, ranging from 8 to 12 or something like that. So I'll cut them a bit of slack, What I was particularly impressed by is it was clear that the creative team behind the film no one was phoning it in. Either that or they were phoning it in and they're just really good at their jobs. But my impression of the film was a film that the creative team genuinely took seriously. It's clear that this didn't have the highest budget, but there was a lot of care and thought put into things like cinematography, shot composition, blocking, editing, set design, costuming, the score. Oh my god, the score of this film is really, really good. I probably looked up the name and then completely forgot about it. But whoever scored this film, man, they nailed it. It is exactly what it needs to be. It's really, really wonderful. It's definitely a kid's movie. If you're, middle-aged like me, you'll probably appreciate it more than you'll actually enjoy it. But, solid flick. Really great premise, though. Kids on the naughty list. Another thing the movie does pretty well, which I was impressed with, is the main cast of kids are, by its very concept, you need, the main cast of the film, our main characters are kids who are on Santa's naughty list. So they need to be little assholes, right? And the film but oh man, how insufferable would it be spending 90 minutes with 8 or 9 kids who are just nasty little shits, This film does a surprisingly good job of presenting us with a cast of kids who are naughty, but not bad kids. If you understand the distinction I'm trying to make, right? Because you could go too far. You could go too far in either direction. You could make them just so awful that you don't care what happens to them, or you could make them so nice that it doesn't make sense that they'd be on the naughty list in the first place, right? But no, these are kids who are not bad kids. They're not hurting anyone. They're not, either intentionally or unintentionally. No one's being harmed. They're just naughty, the kind of thing like, Like they're playing Tetris on their phone in class, and their phone gets confiscated. So they break into the back room where all the confiscated toys are, and they steal it. And then they, charge their friends $5 to get their phones and toys and stuff back. Naughty. They're not bad kids, but yeah, that'll land you on the naughty list, sure. Chaos says, a title like The Naughty Nine sounds like something else entirely. It kind of does. Especially when Santa shows up. They do a whole Nick Fury thing at the very end of the movie where Santa shows up and he's like, dude, Santa, I've been super good all year. He's like, I know you have, but that's not what this is about. I need the Naughty Nine. It's like, it's maybe an old man talking to a 12-year-old boy and saying, I need the Naughty Nine. It's like, it's a little. The eyebrow goes up. But it has the it's a very young kids heist movie because it's structured exactly like that. They have that whole getting the team together thing. It's like, okay, we need a master of disguise, and we need a getaway driver, and we need an animal whisperer to, talk to the reindeer, and we need a gymnast, and we need and we need a kid who's so damn cute that he can talk his way into anything. So they get this little, 8-year-old boy who's just does that. You've seen like Puss in Boots where Puss does the big kitten eyes. Same idea. The actor's not that great, but it communicates the point. You get the point. It works. Solid movie. I mean, it's not on my it's not like a stone cold classic like Spy Kids, for example, but a really solid and admirable effort, I thought. So, good on whoever the hell's responsible for the Naughty Nine. Yeah, I mean, if you do another Naughty Nine, sure, I'll give it a watch. Especially if you keep it under 90 minutes like this one. That's one of the reasons I watched it. I'm like, the Naughty Nine? What the hell is that? Never heard of that. It's like, kids on the naughty list do a North Pole heist. I'm like, that's amazing. How long is this? Oh, it's only it's under 90 minutes? Sure, let's watch it. If it was 3 hours long, I probably wouldn't have bothered. All right. So I went to the drive-in theater to see The Marvels, which has been out in the theater for about 3 weeks. I think this is its third week. I would have seen it earlier because I'm a big superhero dork who likes my superhero movies. I see almost all the superhero movies, and the ones I haven't seen because they're bad. Apparently, I used to do I have a series that I haven't done for a year. Superhero Fanboy finally watches. And I did like 9 or 10 episodes. The premise of the show is I'm going back and catching up on the superhero movies I never saw, like Constantine and the Fantastic Four and Ghost Rider and Superman Returns and Catwoman. Turns out I was right to skip them in the first place because they've all been really bad. I didn't see Green Lantern. There's another one. And after about 9 or 10 episodes, I was like, I don't want to watch these anymore. I don't want to watch it anymore. I should really suck it up and watch my superhero movies, though. But anyway, so the drive-in theater does double features, but for the first 2 weeks, The Marvels was double featuring with itself. And while I wanted to see The Marvels, I heard there were cats in it. There are. I didn't want to see it twice. I'm sure it's good, I thought to myself, having not seen it yet, but not really interested in watching it a second time right after the first. So I said, I'll wait until it stops double featuring with itself, or it'll probably be on Disney Plus by Christmas, so, whatever. But this week it was double featuring with Wish, which is another Disney animated film, which I think I saw one trailer for. And, well, let's just say after viewing the trailer, I did not say, ooh, that's something I want to see. So I went to the drive-in theater, and I saw Wish, and it's not good. Which makes me sad. It is kind of a fascinating movie because I am hard-pressed to think of another Disney animated feature that fails by every possible metric. Like, there are some Disney animated features and it's like, that one doesn't work, but for, one or two pretty obvious reasons. No, Wish doesn't work for, like, every reason. Which is particularly frustrating because, kind of like Candy Cane Lane, I think there's a solid concept to work with, and it was clear that, boy, I looked it up in the credits and I don't remember. This was last Tuesday and I've already forgotten. It was clear that they were trying to do something really unique and special with the music, and almost. No. Nope. No, not there. Doesn't work. Oh, but they really tried. And it frustrates me because a lot of the music has some really excellent hooks to it, like the villain's song. The hook of the song, essentially the refrain, the bit that is repeated typically in the chorus, right? So, like "Let It Go" is the hook of "Let It Go" from Frozen. I think the hook for the villain song is something like, "That's the thanks I get." So the villain is grousing about how, he's doing all his villainous stuff, but, for the benefit of the people, and they just don't love him for it. This is the thanks I get. I bust my butt doing all this stuff for you, and this is the thanks I get. And the song just gets progressively more selfish and needy and self-aggrandizing, and it's a really solid concept, and it almost works, but it really doesn't, and it's so sad. There's another song which is the let's pool our resources and group together and fight the big bad. Yeah, that moment of the movie, and the hook for that one is something like, now that I know, or knowing what I know now, that kind of thing, where all the characters are realizing that the bad guy is bad, actually. And what they're trying to do is giving each character their own musical voice. And as they come together as a team, blend all those disparate voices together into one cohesive whole that builds upon itself and becomes something greater than the sum of its parts. Ooh, that's such a cool idea, and it doesn't work. It almost does, though. Oh man, so close. But it doesn't quite get there, and frustrating. It's not that they weren't trying. They were definitely trying. Their hearts were in the right place. They've got some really good instincts and really good ideas, but in this random dude on the internet's very humble opinion, humble yet inerrant opinion, doesn't quite get there. And bummer, yo. But that's the music. There are other things we could talk about in the movie, such as the character design. it feels like someone said, let's take a parody of DreamWorks design and make that very generic. Right? A lot of people, not without reason, lambast DreamWorks for having very similar ways of doing their character models, movie to movie, particularly the human characters, or overly anthropomorphized characters anyway, making them very samey looking. Now, if someone were to, the half grin eyebrow thing that they do in all the goddamn posters, right? It kind of feels like someone took, someone's idea of making fun of that. Like if someone drew a picture like, hey man, this is all the DreamWorks characters, right? And they took that and just made that really generic. That's kind of what all the characters in Wish look like to me. Just some really genuinely boring, uninspired character designs, right? That's just, man, I do not like. The general art direction and aesthetic of the show, they're doing this weird thing. Like, all of the 3D characters have this weird outline, like this rim light or like edge to them, which I think what they're going for is that they're trying to like not do cell shading, but try and like split the difference between 2D and 3D, which makes the characters look like they don't belong in the environment, or maybe it's just the poor lighting at the drive-in. That's always a possibility, but it made the movie look really cheap. Not like Coco Lemon kind of cheap, but you've seen those crappy, or I hope you haven't because they're awful, but those crappy animated children's shows that someone is farting out for parents to just turn this crap on for the just so you can breathe for 5 minutes, right? How like the animated characters never look like they're actually in their environment anywhere. Wish kind of suffers from that, and it's so weird. Just not a very good looking movie. The design is uninspired. It's boring. Looks cheap. Yeah, it's not good. The messaging is very muddled. There are like bits and pieces where it's like, okay, I get what we're saying here. I don't know how that plays with anything else in the movie, but I just doesn't feel very well thought through. For example, one of the main ideas of the movie is you go to this island where Chris Pine is a sorcerer who rules the island, and he's got a deal for you, right? Doesn't it suck when you've got dreams, but you'll never fulfill them, and that kind of depresses you? It's like, oh man, I want to be a concert pianist, but I can't play an F sharp minor because my fingers are fat, right? Chris Pine says, hey, tell you what, I'll hold on to that dream for you. And you'll forget about it, but at least you won't stress over it anymore. But I will protect that dream. And in this world, dreams are little balls. They're Dragon Balls. They're physical manifestations of your dream. And he says, I'll hold on to your dream so you don't have to stress over it. And in addition, once a month or so, I'm going to grant someone's wish. I'm going to make someone's dream come true. So you'll be a concert pianist, or you'll be a seamstress who makes the coolest outfits in the land, or you'll do something else. Okay, so that's the general premise. All right, so our heroes at some point it's like, oh, this is terrible. He's stealing people's dreams and keeping them locked up and deciding whose dreams get granted and whose doesn't, and we're gonna steal all the dreams or we're gonna take all the dreams back. And at least twice, if not like 3 or more times throughout the movie, someone says, Isn't that stealing, though? And our hero goes, no, because they weren't his in the first place. Except they were. I mean, he's totally a bad guy. You totally should be doing this, absolutely, but they were given willingly. He didn't lie. He didn't scam anyone. He didn't trick anyone. You know, he told you right up front, I will take care of your dream. You will forget about it. And I'll grant someone's dream like, once a month or so. And he does. So he never lied. He never tricked anyone. And unless I missed something, no one's forced to do that. Like, I don't think giving up your dream is like a condition of living there. I don't think there's definitely a pressure to do that, but I don't think you have to. Possible I missed something along those lines. So, yeah, just small things like that, and then larger things. They just don't add up, and it's like, let's see, what else? There's one other major beat I wanted to hit here. There's one character who is kind of a dull, monotone, listless putz, kind of like me. So you have your main group, your heroes, or main group of friends, and you've got this one guy who's like, yeah. And they mention, like, wow, Harold, since you gave up your wish, you're kind of sad, just kind of a lethargic, depressing person. And he goes, am I? And I'm like, ooh, that's really interesting. So we could have an interesting commentary or thematic thing about our hopes, our dreams, our wishes are part of who we are. And without that, evil Chris Pine just removed the best part of this guy. And that almost never comes up again. I'm like, oh, that's a really interesting thing that we could explore, and the movie just doesn't. It comes back very briefly, but not in a particularly substantive way towards the end of the film. But it's, just... I wish it were better. Oh well. But The Marvels was pretty darn good. Really enjoyed that one. Probably one of the hardest and most sustained laughs I have had at a movie in quite some time. Just a not a perfect film by any means. The plotting is a little shaky here and there. There are going to be bits where you're going to be like, point of order, right? It's like, wait a minute, are we just going to ignore we're moving on? We're moving on. Okay, we're not going to worry about that. Okay, cool. But I mean, I'm having fun, so I'm kind of wondering what happened there. But we're leaving now. Or you might go, hey, why that? Is it just because movie, or is there a reason that I'm missing? So the plotting can be a little shaky here and there. But the movie, for subjective of course, for me anyway, was just so gosh darn charming and fun and funny that it, for me, spackled over a lot of the genuine issues I had with some of the film's plotting. And again, that's the scene I was talking about that was just a long sustained laughter for me. It's the Flerken scene. The Flerken are the Marvel Universe alien cats. Oh my god, that scene. That's my favorite thing ever. There's a joke that they tell during it. The scene goes on too long, but I was laughing my arse off the entire time, so I don't care. In fact, they repeat a joke. It feels like they had this scene in the edit, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's gold. Andrew's gonna love this." And they just like repeated the scene to make it twice as long. And that may seem hacky, but I don't care because goddamn, that was my favorite thing I've seen in a theater for or seen in a film in quite some time. Granted, I am an absolute mark for cats, and Flerkens are just essentially uh, cats with mouths full of hentai tentacles. So, uh, and not only am I a mark for cats, I am also a mark for musicals. And they go to a planet in this movie that the local language is song. Luckily, English song, but song. So everyone sings all the time. So there's a full musical number in. Let me not spoil some fun bits. How do I want to address this? So Captain Marvel and friends go to the planet to talk to the prince, who she knows because she's Captain Marvel. She goes all over the place. Gonna ask him for help with the plot of the movie. So they get there, and there's a person who sings their announcement. Captain Marvel is here, la 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 la, and then she dances with the prince, and they have a fugue, a back and forth, singing at each other as she talks to him about what she needs from him, and it is so damn funny, and also genuinely just really good, especially coming off of Wish, where the music just all fell flat for me. The musical sequence in this film, it's like a solid 10 minutes of this stuff. It's really cool. The singing and the songs were actually really good. Oh my god, one thing I forgot to talk about in Wish. The lyrics are bad. Like the rhymes are bad. Now, you can get away with shaky rhymes. Like, if you want to rhyme chain and again, they don't rhyme. You want to rhyme them, that better be some really clever damn lyrics. I'll allow it if the lyrics are clever enough. The lyrics were not clever enough in Wish. But in The Marvels, rather, oh my god, I absolutely I want a movie on the singing planet. And more Flerkens. They need to do a Marvel musical. Some of my, of course, I am a musical dork. So that may not be everyone's cup of tea, but oh, it is definitely mine. Some of my favorite things from the Rogers the Musical bit from the Hawkeye television show. Oh my god, that is one of my favorite damn things. So it goes with the musical bit in the Marvels. I absolutely adored that. Oh, one other thing I wanted to talk about in the Naughty Nine. There's a chase sequence in the Naughty Nine where the kids are in Santa's sleigh being pulled by Dasher and one of the other reindeer, and they are fleeing the elf authorities through the streets of North Pole Town. So they're it's a cops and robbers chase through a town, and what I immediately thought of was a similar scene in Book of Boba Fett, which that came out a while ago. It's been a while since I spoke about it, but if you remember, I had pointed out that the chase sequence in the Book of Boba Fett was oddly, possibly the slowest vehicular chase I have ever seen. It is so weirdly slow. The sleigh chase in the Naughty Nine, not the fastest I've ever seen, but it blew a similar chase in Book of Boba Fett out of the water, for what it's worth. Anyway, back to the Marvels. So yeah, I would love them to do a Marvel musical, and they've got a whole planet of singing people, so I mean, at least I think it's still there. That's kind of a plot point of the movie, which is a little, because, oh no, bad guys are attacking, we need to run, and they run, and it's like, okay, is the singing planet okay? Or did they, did they all die? Are they okay? Are we going back to look? No? Okay. The villain didn't really do it for me, and I'm not entirely clear why. Maybe they needed to give her a little bit more of a personality. Like maybe she needed one more scene where you could relate to her as a person rather than just a plot device. Which is a shame because the villain plan is actually really cool, right? So if you saw Captain Marvel, she ends the movie going, hey, you know what? That AI that runs our planet, the Kree Hala, that AI, the Master, Supreme Intelligence, that's no good. I'm going to go take care of Annette Bening, the Supreme Intelligence. Well, apparently she actually did that, so she goes back to Hala, she just destroys the artificial intelligence, which either exacerbates an existing civil war or started a civil war. I'm not sure. I don't remember if it was unclear, if I just forgot. But anyway, her destroying the Supreme Intelligence ended up either causing or exacerbating a civil war that was so destructive that it dried up the oceans, polluted the air, and put out the goddamn sun. It's like... So if you've seen in the trailers for this movie why all the Kree keep calling her the Annihilator, what they're talking about is, you screwed up our planet, you horrible, horrible person, you. We have no water, we have no air, and the sun is dying. So our bad guy is like, okay, I'm gonna find these, the other bangle that, Miss Marvel has. There's a pair, so she finds the other one. It's like, waha! With the power of the bangle, I can open up a portal between my planet and some planets that you, Captain Marvel, really care about. Like the Skrull planet and the Singing People planet and Earth. So her plan is like, okay, I'm going to open up a portal, I'm going to suck... Oh my god, it's the plot of Spaceballs! It's exactly Spaceballs! They're just going to suck all the air out of the planet. I just realized this is Spaceballs. So she opens a portal to suck all the air out of the Skrull planet for her planet. And then the Singing Planet is like, what was it, Kamino or something in Attack of the Clones, where it's mostly water. So she opens a portal and starts sucking all the oceans out of the planet. Again, I don't know if they're okay. Did she take all of it? I really don't know. It's one of the areas where the movie kind of drops the ball a bit, and and she's going to open up a portal to our system and steal our damn sun. And that's a great comic book villain plan. That's really, really cool. It just doesn't work as well as it should. And that's a shame. But our three leads, well, actually everyone in the movie, really, particularly Kamala's family. I love her family. Which is interesting, because they don't really care for Kamala's family in the book. They just kind of annoy... The comic books. At least the early issues. I only read the first... 12 issues or so of Miss Marvel. But I love her family in the Miss Marvel TV show, and they are an absolute riot in this, too. The characters are wonderful. They're funny. The action is really inventive and... well conceived and staged and executed, and it's particularly impressive because, again, if you've seen the trailers, you're probably aware that the idea is Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and not a Marvel, what's her name, Photon, Monica Rambeau, their powers are entangled, so every time they use their powers, they physically swap positions. So they have a full training montage where they figure out how to like where they practice juggling and skipping rope while constantly triggering their powers to switch places. It's really funny. And so in the beginning of the movie, they're switching and they don't know why. By the end, they've kind of figured each other out and they're working in tandem. And to the movie's credit, it does a really excellent job of keeping something that potentially complex and hard to follow really clear. The action is inventive, it's clear, it's easy to follow, it's exciting, it's well rendered. So full marks there. I think it does really well. The humor is subjective, of course, but the humor does it for me. I particularly love the bit where Carol, Captain Marvel, is trying to explain to Nick Fury how their powers got entangled. She's like, "Well, I saw this this weird glowing purple field, and I touched it, and now Monica and I just switch places every time we use her powers." Like, why did you touch it? Says Nick Fury. And she says, because it was glowy and mystical. I mean, you know, what do you expect? He's like, don't touch it. They have this argument. It's like, well, I mean, it was glowy and mystical. What do you expect me to do? Not touch the glowy thing? He's like, yeah, don't touch the glowy thing. I keep having to tell Monica to stop touching things. She's like, hey, you have powers? Yeah, I walked through the wall of a witch hex, and yeah, now I have powers. And now our powers are entangled because I saw some weird glowing purple thing and stuck my finger in it. Stop touching stuff! On the other hand, it might actually be Monica's job at Saber to go touch things. It's like, oh, something glowing and mysterious. Someone get Monica to go poke it. I really enjoyed the movie. How would I rate it as a film? Solid B. You know, maybe a B plus, just because of how much I genuinely enjoy the damn thing. The charm of these characters is doing a lot of heavy lifting, but for me that makes for an entertaining hour and 3/4 at the theater. So it really worked for me. Wish, not good. Marvel's, the pretty solid track record of films. These Marvel movies. There's like over 30 of them now, and you've got some absolute stunning. There's some that I'm like, oh man, masterpiece. Well, not masterpiece maybe, but A plus, absolutely great film. There's like 5 of them that are really genuinely, solidly, really good films, and there's probably 5 of them that are just kind of not great. Like, I can't think of a Marvel movie that I ever walked away from going, okay, that one just sucks. I mean, even my least favorite of the Marvel movies, like Thor 2. It's okay. I mean, they're all watchable. So, pretty good damn track record. That's impressive. Kind of makes the DC stuff that we've seen so far a damn shame, because I'd say the best of DC is topping some of the best of Marvel. The worst of DC is just, oh god, it's through the damn floor. So I think, it's like if you were running a movie studio, would you rather have 35 movies that are broadly, solidly B films? You got a couple A's, you got a couple C's, but mostly just B movies that everyone seems to be at least fond of? Or would you like 15 movies, half of which are really good and half of it are just really terrible? I don't know, man. Pros and cons to both. But we seem to be entering a new era of DC. You know, James Gunn has taken it. Is it James Gunn? Yeah, James Gunn taken over the doing the Kevin Feige, whatever. So we'll see how the DC movies go from here on out. Oh, and despite what Bob Iger told a bunch of executives, I don't think more executive meddling is what these movies need. If you missed this one, this is silly. So there was a Disney had an executive meeting of executives about executives, and one of Bob Iger, the guy who runs Disney right now, one of his thoughts was like, well, you know what the Marvels was missing? You know why it didn't do so well box office wise? Didn't have enough executive supervision. That's right. We executives are the secret sauce to art. Because how many times have you heard professional critics moan, climb up to their mountaintops and scream, if only more executives would meddle with these films, they'd be better. Man, that's a shitty thing to... who directed Marvels? Nia DaCosta. Man, if I were her, I'd be thinking, oh man, screw you, buddy. Yeah, Nia didn't have enough supervision from us executives, because no one knows art and storytelling and creativity like an executive. Keep in mind, I'm drawing a line between a producer and an executive. But, I mean, seriously, what else do you expect an executive to say to a bunch of other executives at their executives meeting? They're all there to... What's a more family-friendly phrase than the one I'm thinking? Pat each other on the back. There you go. They're a bunch of jerks, and they're standing in a circle, and they're patting each other on the back and stroking their egos. Yep. Because, you gotta feel sorry for these incredibly rich people who don't do anything. They probably feel real bad about having no talent, about not being able to actually create anything, of being functionally useless. All the executives are like, we could replace artists and stuff with AI. No, I mean, not if you want anything good, but you could probably replace executives with AI. I don't think anyone would notice. I bet the AI would be cheaper too. Jared says, well, you are in the small minority that like the... The movie. Oh, okay. That like the movie. It's got 50 for critic and 3.8 for fan on Metacritic. I wouldn't... I mean, if it's got a 50 for critic, that's not a small minority. That's just half. And last time I saw it on Rotten Tomatoes, and, don't give a shit, but, I think it was 62 or something like that. Let's see. Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, hey, how was Candy Cane Lane? 47, alright. The Marvels. Yeah, 62 for critics. Oh, and 83 for audience? So, that's a bit of a disparity. Let's see. Metacritic, right? Metacritic. Critic.com. Let's see. Ooh, Godzilla! I want to see the new Godzilla, but it's not playing at the drive-in, so... Fudge. The Marvels. Let's see. Oh, that's right. So, if I'm remembering right, Metacritic averages the score while Rotten Tomatoes says it just says what percentage lean positive or lean negative. So according to Metacritic, based on 57 critic reviews, it's got an average score of 50, which I'm not sure if that's like, is 50 a failure or is 50 just, it's okay. Like a mediocre? Not really sure. And the Marvels on Rotten Tomatoes is 62% of critic reviews leaned positive, and 83% of the audience score leaned positive. So, I wouldn't call that a small minority, but certainly not going to be for everyone. I can imagine someone, some people don't like cats. But I could also totally imagine someone thinking that the musical sequence in the Marvels is absolutely insufferable. And that doesn't make them have poor taste or a bad person or anything, but you don't like musicals. Oh man, that 10-minute sequence of the movie is probably going to be a really rough sit. Or if broadly the movie's style of humor doesn't work for you, then you, for example, like if you watch the Marvels and the general vibe, the character, I call the characters charming and fun, and the humor works for me. However, another audience member might go, I'm just not feeling the characters, I'm not vibing with this, and the humor's falling flat. So what do you fall back on? The plot, which, as I mentioned, a bit shaky. So, I could totally see, an audience just not vibing with the film, and, that's a shame. But I liked it. So, and it's got cats, and they're funny. I like the Flerken. And I still say that we need we don't need. I need a Marvel movie musical, because I am a superhero and a musical dork. So if you make a musical superhero movie, I will be happy. Because this Rogers the Musical thing is one of my favorite things, and the Musical Planet segment from the Marvels is one of my favorite things. So if Disney Marvel wants to make a movie specifically for me, they could do that. Would that make them lots of money? No, probably not. That's maybe a bit too niche. I don't know how big the. I do know that. Production companies do generally seem to have the impression, I don't know how true it is, but the studios seem to think that general audiences aren't into musicals, because when a movie is a musical, a lot of times the trailer cuts around it, like the original trailer. I think the first trailer I saw for West Side Story didn't have any music in it. How do you do a trailer for West Side Story and not have any music in it? So I don't know how true that is, though, right? I mean, the studios genuinely, people don't like musicals. You don't make many of them. So when you make musicals, you tend to try and hide it in the advertising. So self-fulfilling prophecy? Maybe, maybe not. I honestly don't know. But I like musicals, so buttons. Jared says, find a little funny, a lot of stuff. I see you like a good part of the review for crying out loud, this goddamn heart thing. What word is this? Okay, I just find it funny that a lot of the stuff I see you like, a good part of the review for said thing, hate that thing. Yeah, it goes the other way, too, because I've been in the extreme minority on... there's some movies that I genuinely don't care for. One of the biggest examples of... It's not that recent anymore, but there's a movie called... Colossal or Colossus. I think it's Colossal. It's a film where a gal, if she stands in a sand pit at a children's park at 8 a.m., she manifests a kaiju over in South Korea. I don't like that movie at all. I don't like that movie to the point where I think it's a bad movie. But I am in the extreme minority on that one. Most people, both critical and audiences, really dug that film. In fact, when my sister and I saw it, we went theater to see it, and she didn't like it either. We came home and we actually spent a good part of the afternoon just reading reviews and critical thoughts on the film. And what was funny was she and I agreed with everything the critics were saying. We're like, the critics would say, this is a movie that does this thing. And we're like, yes, it definitely did that thing. And what it means is it's communicating this thing. It has this to say on this topic. And my sister and I are like, yes, I agree. That's exactly what I got out of the film, too. The only difference is neither of us actually enjoyed the movie. So, it can be a toss-up sometimes. I have pretty eclectic taste. I like a very wide variety of things, but, sometimes the movie will do it for me, and I actually haven't read any reviews of Wish, though. Let's, while I have Rotten Tomatoes up, what's Wish looking like? I have no idea what people think of that one. Ooh, interesting. So, 48 on the critic and 81 on audience? Wow. So critics are leaning mostly negative on Wish, but it's still 48%. That's kind of half and half. That means about half of the critics are leaning somewhat positive, which, interesting. I can imagine some critics they're scoring it a bit more points than I would because of because I talked about I really admire what they're trying to do, particularly with the music, and that may, for some critics, that may earn it a few more points. But 81% of the audience is leaning positive. Wow. Well, Wish seems to be doing pretty darn well with audiences. That's a pretty decent score. So, well, I mean, I'd rather people not hate the movies they watch, so, I'm fine with that. Let's see. Jared says, Greatest Showman was at least a small hit for musicals. Also, a lot of Disney stuff could be classified as yeah, absolutely. Wish, for example, is a musical. It's just, in my minority audience opinion, not very good. I thought, and that includes the music. I just thought the music was not bad, just not good. It was kind of lame and struggling. Yeah. Oh God, I've been talking about this it's 8:40. How about that? I need to eat. So that's it for tonight. Yeah, if you like cats and musicals, the Marvels gets a thumbs up. Let's see, what was I talking about? Oh, and Miss Marvel's mom is hilarious. And Goose, is it Goose? Yeah, Goose, the cat, the Flerken, eats a throw pillow, which is hilarious. Goose, the Flerken, ends up in Miss Marvel's house and is just kind of like sitting on a table, and then just, the tentacles and grabs like one of the throw pillows. It's like, okay, yeah, just have a throw pillow. Thank you, cat. Delightful. Anyway, so let's see. Tomorrow, Sunday stream. Is first Sunday in December is the month we're in. Sorry, we're still doing regression at work, so I'm kind of all over the place. So I normally would do something different, but we're gonna play Trails to Azure tomorrow because I wanna. We're gonna meet Dr. Sealand and refill our prescription for lupinus grass because we're out. We done did smoked all of it. So speaking as Jared, I haven't seen The Greatest Showman. If I'm trying to, I think my sister didn't like it. I wonder if that's another example of a movie where the trailer tried to play down the fact that it's a musical. I don't know. But Brigadoon just hit the Criterion Channel, so that's a musical. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen that one, so maybe I'll watch that. All right, so that's it for the extended version of this podcast of me rambling about movies. So I hope every movie you watch is something that entertains you greatly, and I'll see you tomorrow for Sunday stream, and we'll meet Dr. Sealand and talk to everybody else in the state of Crossville, because that's what we do. So have a good night, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.